Bring me sprigs of rosemary, be my sanctuary till I can carry on, carry on, carry on, carry on.
Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota vakesh, Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota vakesh.
Shivti, bevet Adonai. Shivti, kol yamei chayai, lachazot b'noam Adonai.
B'noam Adonai.
Uvaker
B'echalot.
lachazot b'noam Adonai. To gaze upon the beauty of out of the ruins and the rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, we can see a ray of hope, one pale thin ray reaching for the day. We can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city for all. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city for all.
1, 2, 3. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. There's a road that's long and winding, it hollers home. I'm calling home אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש.
שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו, לחזות בנועם אדוני, to gaze upon the beauty of out of the ruins and the rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, we can see a ray of hope, one pale thin ray, reaching for the day we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city for all. We may not reach the ending, but we can start slowly but truly mending, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how we can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city for all.
1, 2, 3. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. There's a road that's long and winding, it hollers home. I'm calling home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home to Erev Shabbat. Shalom, wherever
because
Did your wife come with you at least?
she didn't. She was in Mexico. She took a vacation in Mexico with some of her friends.
Yeah.
And that sort of came up last minute-ish. I couldn't go to it with this kid, but she was in Oaxaca.
Cool. What a great thing to say.
Yes.
It's good. It rolls off.
Tell me what you got there.
I like Oaxaca.
Yeah. Cheese.
Some
Some pump. Someone just said it too. Some
It's not fun to eat. It's not something you want to be talking
You
about.
don't want to deal with it,
But when you do, there's at least that one joy.
you really get Sean Connery to set here. Sean.
Since you're so obsessed.
you just don't know how I talk so favorably when you're not around.
That's true. We'll get someone to record that.
I'm playing with that. The guitarist that plays the horn. He plays for the morning services. And this is the first time I've done it. So I sent him a set list. He didn't respond, so I sent him a I mean, you don't need that. They don't have to respond.
You should remind him about when he was on the wrong song and the keyboard died. At the same time.
And the Porterspiel, he was on the wrong song.
Yeah, what made that particular moment so like unbelievable was it started with the guitar leading and he had the wrong chart up. So he just
I
started
didn't even hear that.
he just started strumming the chord and it was not the right key of the song and there was no keyboard to like correct him.
Well, my song,
Yours
he was right.
Well,
but
we had figured
was
it out.
It was just a bit before that.
Yes, it was whatever Stefano's song.
Oh yeah, that was totally the same.
And
Oh,
so I
I
just
remember
started
now.
playing.
Because-
Like, well, I guess we're in F now.
And Stephen was like,
Yep.
way down here, and I thought, that is totally. How did you know to come in that key? I would have been confused.
It was confusing. We figured it out together.
Stefano was on.
earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru lad kol haaretz. Shiru ladonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru ladonai kol haaretz. Shiru ladonai shir chadash.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Rabbi Julie Carroll. I'm honored to be co-officiating tonight's worship with our senior cantor, Shayna DeLoe. Thank you so much to Jay David and our incredible musicians, Corey and Shane, for infusing worship with your Torah, with your wisdom. Thank you to Jarrett, who's up in a dark corner doing God's work, beaming us out to all of you who are not in the room with us this evening. We are going to begin tonight with a poem. I Don't Want to Be a Spice Store by Christian Wyman. I don't want to be a spice store. I don't want to carry handcrafted Marseille soap or tsampa and yak butter or 9,000 varieties of wine. Half the shops here don't open till noon, and even the bookstores brined and charm. I want to be the one store that's open all night and has nothing but necessities. Something to get a fire going and something to put one out. A place where the things stay frozen and a place where they are sweet. I want to hold within myself the possibility of plugging one's ears and easing one's eyes, super glue for ruptures that are, one would have thought, irreparable, a whole bevy of non-toxic solutions for everyday disasters. I want to wait brightly lit and with the patience I never had as a child for my father to find me open on a holiday morning in his last-ditch lone wolf drive for gifts. Light of the world pen light, bobblehead compass, fuzzy dice. I want to hum just a little with my own emptiness at 4 a.m. to have little bells above my door, to have a door. We would like to be your shop of necessities this Shabbat. Whatever it is that you need that can help you enter the weekend, whether it's to plug your ears, to ease your eyes, to heal your wounds, we hope that you can find at least a little bit of it in this space. Depending on what you read or where you looked this week, you might be entering this space feeling anxiety, feeling absurdity, feeling confusion, feeling chaos. You might also be feeling joy and gratitude. You might be grieving. And so Shabbat arrives after another very demanding week, after another very busy week in our country and in our world. And we hope that just like that convenience store that has just the necessities, that you can come and arrive in Shabbat worship, and that some prayer, some word, some melody, or some spacious, quiet moment helps bring you what it is that you need. Tonight, we are so blessed that we have Rabbi Josh Weinberg with us from Arza. He is going to be lifting up the theme of worship, which is to activate us around the World Zionist Congress elections. I have to give a special shout out to Henry Siegel and Beth Rubin, who have been key congregant stewards and leaders in making sure that our community is showing up and showing out for this very important election. We're going to hear more of that later. And so we begin this service by taking one of those things off the shelf, one of those things that help heals us and restore us after a long week, light. And we are so grateful, Hannah, that you are going to be bringing your light to our Bima this weekend and to Am Yisrael for the remainder of your life by becoming a leader in Am Yisrael. We're going to kindle the Shabbat candles on page 2.
אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Amen. Beautiful Hannah, Mazel Tov. We're so proud of you. Our Kabbalat Shabbat, our music and psalms that are going to help us welcome in the spirit of Shabbat, the breath and the spaciousness, will continue with Lechuna Ranana on page 12.
Lechun ranena l'Adonai nariya litzor yishenu yai lai lai yai lai lai yai lai 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 yai lai yai lai 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 yai lai lai yai lai 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 yai lai lai yai lai lai yai lai
As we prepare now to welcome in the spirit of Shabbat, who will enter by Rabbi Spratt at those doors, we turn now to page 20 for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'letila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pinei התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing as we're able for the call to worship on page 28.
Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 la lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai la lai, yai lai yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai. Yai lai, yai lai, yai lai, yai lai, yai lai, yai lai, la lai. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai la lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai yai lai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
This week we conclude the book of Exodus, the book of Shemot, which feels a little funny because we're also approaching Passover season when we'll open up our Haggadot and retell the story over again. One of the things I love about this book is that the final word of the entire book of Exodus is Masehem, journeys. And every time we come to this part of the service and we sing Michamocha, we think about this epic journey through water from slavery into freedom. But the book of Exodus reminds us that for the Israelites, there are always journeys ahead, that we're a forward-looking people, that this cloud and this fire that accompany us, that bring God's presence with us, that the Michamocha reminds us of miracles in the past, of triumph, of redemption, and that spirit and that memory stays with us as we each embark upon our own journeys as a community. We continue on page 40. Be love, Hashkivenu, page 42.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and shelter be our shelter from life's storms.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Ashkivenu Leshalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom Lishalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We know that many who gather here this evening came because there are people you love and you know who are journeying through times of struggle, whether it's in mind, body, and spirit. And as you enter these sacred halls and this sacred space, you hope that you can fill yourself up as a person who is bringing healing and sacred presence to the people that you know who are struggling. And so it's our prayer and our hope that as we sing the Misha Berach, the prayer of healing together, that just as we find light and we find comfort on the shelves of this proverbial shop that we're trying to be this evening, that you're also able to find the tools that you need to be present in the lives of those that you know who are struggling, and also to find the strength if you yourself are struggling. We're thinking this week of Ellen Kirshner, Tracy Lustig, Cassie Lustig, Patricia Horn, Stephen Schwinder, Mark Miller, Debbie Plotz-Pierce, Judy Garber, Elaine Herrick, Stanley Reifer, Ricky Dessen, Ari Guinor, Lenny Shields, Rosalind Epstein, Griffin Myers, Sharon Rollins, Jessica Newman, Sue Moldovan, Lilu Oppenheim, Maxine Borowitz, Alex Yakino, Sandra Carver, Pam Elias, Patrick Greenewald, Elizabeth Wright, Barbara Dyer, Ari Avital, Moshe Avraham Ben Miriam Vishmuel, Harriet Goldstein, Bod Paduzzi, Harry Fisher, Harriet Feldman, Naama Rafaeli Balsam, Eileen Menace, Bob Paduzzi, Harriet Goldstein, Yehudi Brana Ba'aria Leb V'chana Tova. Are there additional loved ones you're praying for this evening? Howard, yeah. Steve. We continue with Misha Berach, the middle of page 253.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
As we think of those who are vulnerable, we lift our prayers to those who are still waiting for redemption. We invite you to please rise as you are able for Achenu, the prayer for the captives, and we also invite you to acknowledge that we have moved our memorial and our acknowledgement space for the captives and for those who died on October 7th into our sanctuary space so that it can be closer to our prayers. We continue with Achenu.
Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Hanetunim b'tzara uvashivia, Haomdim bein mayam uvein bayabasha. Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Achenu kol beit Yisrael, Hanetunim b'tzara uvashivia, Haomdim bein mayam uvein bayabasha. Hamakom yirachem, yirachem aleihem, v'yotziei mitzara livacha, v'yafela leora, u'mishibur ligulashta, bagala uvizman kariv. Hamakom yirachem, yirachem aleihem, v'yotziei mitzara livacha, v'yafela leora, u'mishibur ligulashta, bagala uvizman kariv.
We remain standing as we're able, turning now to our Amidah liturgy, asking God to help us craft the words of our prayer. We begin with Adonai Sefatai on page 46.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai, yalalai, lai, lai. la la la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Akol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo b'Ahava, Melech Chozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah, Rav le'oshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid agashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofech cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato lishenei afar, Mi chamocha bal geburot, U'midol melach, Melech memit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh Shemcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We remain standing as able and pray together for the state of Israel. Rock and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the dawning of our redemption. Shield it with your compassion and spread over it the shelter of your peace. May a spark of your spirit inspire the actions of its elected leaders and officials, judges and advisors, that they may follow the path of justice, liberty, and righteousness. Strengthen the spirit and the hands of those who build and protect our holy land and grant salvation and life. Bring peace to this land and everlasting joy to its inhabitants. Be with the people of Israel wherever they are. Plant within their hearts the love of Zion, and may those of our people who are so inspired come to Jerusalem, your city which bears your name. Spread your spirit over all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot hatred and animosity, jealousy and evil. Plant in our hearts love and kinship, peace and friendship. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. We continue with our prayer for peace, page 60, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam.
We invite you into personal reflection.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
It is a privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker and really to acknowledge that we are very lucky that we get to have Rabbi Weinberg with us during the World Zionist Congress elections. This is by far your busiest season of the 5 years of this cycle, I'm sure. So thank you for making space for Congregation Road of Sholem. Rabbi Joss Weinberg serves as the Vice President of the Union for Reform Judaism for Israel and Reform Zionism and is the Executive Director of ARTSA, the Association of Reform Reform Zionists of America. He was ordained from HUCJIR in the Israeli Rabbinic Program in Jerusalem, and he is currently living in New York. Josh previously served as the director of the Israel Program for the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College and is a faculty member on Nifty EIE High School in Israel, where some of our very own students have attended, teaching Jewish history. Josh is a reserve officer in the IDF spokesperson's unit and has hiked the Israel Trail and became Aliyah in Israel in 2003. Originally from Chicago, he has a bachelor's from the University of Wisconsin in Hebrew Literature, Political Science, and International Relations, and a master's at the Hebrew University in Jewish Education. Josh has taught and lectured widely throughout Israel, the United States, and Europe, as well as on Kivunim and Shnat Netzer gap year programs. He's led numerous tours and trained tour educators from the Reform Movement's Israel experiences. In addition to being a storytelling maven, Josh has a passion for the environment and spends lots of time outdoors hiking and climbing, playing music and volleyball. Josh is passionate about anything connected to Israel and hopes to strengthen the connection between the Reform Movement and the Jewish state, which is exactly what he will be doing here tonight. He's married to Mara Sheftel-Getz and the proud Abba of Noah, Ella, Mia, and Alma. We're so grateful to have you here tonight, Rabbi Weinberg. Thank you.
שיר למעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים. A song of ascents we read in the book of Psalms, that when we were returned to Zion, to the land of Israel, we were like dreamers. Now, of course, you all recognize these words because we say them practically every Shabbat in the preface to our Birkat HaMazon, to our grace after meals, when we take a moment and dream. We take a moment to think about what this dream of having the Jewish state was, what it is, and what it yet could be. And I'm so honored to be invited here to Congregation Rodef Shalom, one of our flagship congregations of the Reform Movement, to share with you a few thoughts and to think together about what we, not only as a congregation, as a community, as a movement, and as a Jewish people can achieve. First of all, my thanks to you, Rabbi Carroll, and to you, Cantor DeLoe, and to Rabbi Spratt, of course, and my good friend Scott Hertz here at CRS. And I just want to take a moment to say how many connections I have here, but of course, our wonderful captains and leaders, Henry and Beth, where are you? You're here. Yes, there you are. And you should all know that every campaign has an important person behind the scenes, and that for us is our good friend Mark Landis, who is working tirelessly on things that are not necessarily, how should we say, sexy, but critically important, like the rules and enforcing them. And as you all well know, there is no better person to do that than Mark Landis, and you have our deepest gratitude, Mark, for all that you are doing. Now, how many of you have been to Israel before in your lifetimes? Wow. Here's a yofi. If you haven't raised your hand yet, you should meet our good friend Guy Milo, who is here with us, who is our Reform Movement's travel partner with J Squared Adventures, and he'll find a way to get you there, and you should go with your congregation next time. And how many of you are repeat offenders? You've been to Israel multiple times in your lifetimes? Wow, amazing. And how many of you have had the opportunity to visit Israel in the last 18 months since that fateful and tragic day of October 7th, 2023? Some of you who have been there, of course, now to see a country that has changed. And how many of you have had a conversation about Israel at some point in the last year and a half, let's say? Anybody? How many of you have had a conversation with someone who might find themselves to be in a different generation than yourself. How did that go, by the way? How many of you are struggling? How many of you are struggling with what you see on the news or read or what pops up in your feed as you're scrolling through life and seeing everything that's going on? How many of you are struggling with messages that you hear coming from Israel or struggling with messages that you hear from whether they're acquaintances, family members, co-workers, colleagues, and struggling with, wait a second, how can someone see the world so diametrically opposed to the way that I see it? Anybody experienced something like that in the last few months? Well, that's part of what this moment is about. You see, my own journey, as Rabbi Carol graciously introduced, is I came on Aliyah because I was a Zionist. And I came there because I wanted to throw my hat in and be part of the fate and the destiny of the Jewish people. And more than that, I wanted to live in Jewish space and in Jewish time, which doesn't necessarily mean being 10 minutes late for everything. And some say, yes, we also are familiar with that concept here on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to have a front row for Jewish history. And upon returning to New York, even though I was practically fluent in English, having grown up here, I felt like I was missing a few social cues after having been 10 years in Israel. Now, you may know this already, but what's the first question that people ask when they meet you in the United States? Anybody, just throw it out. Yes, Amy Perlman. Very good. I would introduce myself and they'd say, oh, so what do you do? And I would say, about what? I don't know. They said, no, what do you do? We'd like to encapsulate your entire essence by understanding your profession or your 9-to-5 job. And I said, oh, okay, well, I just moved here, and I'm here to be the director of the Association of Reformed Zionists of America. Now, you all know that scene in the movies where the record player screeches to a halt and all eyes suddenly turn in one direction, and there's crickets in the background, and there's an audible gasp, right? We said, well, we don't know each other well enough to have just used the Z word right now. You're a Zionist? And I said, I am. And they said, oh, well, I don't know if we can continue this conversation, or I don't know if I can understand. And I said, well, maybe you and I have a slightly different understanding of what that term means. And that set me on an exploration of both trying to understand what that is, how that's practically applied to this moment, and what we should aspire to as we use this moment in this critically important campaign in which we're almost in the middle of, to help take back, reclaim, redefine, and potentially even reimagine what Zionism is for us in this day and in this time. You see, I come from the belief that Zionism is about three specific things. Number one, Zionism is about our collective responsibility. It's about our own physicality. It's about our security of the Jewish people and reminding us and the world Shekol Yisrael arevim ze bezeh, that all Jews are in fact responsible for one another. It is about escaping persecution, adversity, anti-Semitism, and being strong and having power and the ability to defend ourselves and to protect our people wherever they are, whether they're in a Soviet gulag, on a college campus, or still languishing in a tunnel somewhere in the Gaza Strip. It is about saying we as a Jewish people have a body that needs to flourish and to live just like all other peoples. It's an answer to Hillel's famous question when he said, Im ein ani li, that we, in fact, as Jews, have the right to be for ourselves. But that's not all it's about. Because if Zionism, number one, is about our goof, is about our bodies, our physicality, and our own protection and security, Zionism is also about our soul. And answering Hillel's next question where he says, Mili, who are we? Zionism was not only about what we were running away from, it's also about what we were coming to create. And they were coming to create a utopia in our land where, yes, the holidays are our national holidays, and yes, the ATM wishes you Shabbat Shalom on a Friday afternoon. And it's about re-envisioning what it means now to be Jewish in the Jewish state. You see, because Israelis are waking up to a reality in which the age-old, let's call it a polarizing dichotomy between religious, orthodox, and secular no longer answers the needs of the mainstream. And after 77 years, we are waking up to the reality that having a Jewish state doesn't necessarily mean having a Jewish community or even a Jewish identity. And so it is our reform movement, now with its 54 congregations, its Israel Religious Action Center, its gap year between high school and army programs, and so much more, that is saying, actually, Judaism doesn't have to be black and white. Judaism can be joyous, as we experienced here tonight together, where men and women can sit together, where we can be inclusive of people who are different from us, and we can create something new altogether. Well, once we made sure we were for ourselves, and we look to see what our soul is about, we have to answer Hillel's third question, where he says, Uchshani latzmi ma'ani. He said, if I'm only for myself, what am I? You see, we're in relatively uncharted territory in Jewish history here. Most of our history as a people was written, codified, developed when we were guests in someone else's country. When we didn't have our own sovereignty or our own right to self-determination. That's where our body of halakha comes from the Talmud all the way to the Middle Ages and almost to modern times. And here, for the first time in these past 70 years, we find ourselves to be the ones with power. We find ourselves to be the ones who are sovereign, who realizes that now it's upon us to take care of those who are powerless or vulnerable in our society. We have to worry about, as the Torah teaches us, the ger, almana, v'yatom, the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. And we also have to make sure that we are responsible for all those who find themselves under our rule, whether according to their will or against it. And that is a critically difficult test. And in fact, I want to use this timing. It's somewhat fateful, I think, that I found myself here at this exact moment in our Jewish calendar, because this is, of course, Shabbat HaChodesh, where almost we're going to announce the first of Nisan, the first day of the first month of our Jewish calendar. And we find ourselves smack dab in the middle, right between our two pay holidays, Purim and Pesach. Now, Purim and Pesach offer us critically important lessons. There's a lesson I first learned from one of my teachers, Yossi Klein Halevi, who said that Jewish history speaks to our generation in the voice of these two biblical commands, both of them to remember. Now, the first voice, the voice of Purim, commands us to remember how the tribe of Amalek and Haman, or Haman is the descendant of Amalek, attacks us without provocation while we are wandering in the desert. Echoed, of course, as you'll remember in the Haggadah when we say the V'hisha Amda section, that in every generation someone else rises up to destroy us. And the message of that command is don't be naive. How many of you feel that now? How many of you feel that there's a presence of those who wish us ill all around us? And that's the message of Purim. But on Pesach, the second voice, Pesach commands us to remember that we were strangers in the land of Egypt. And we read in our Haggadah, Bechol dor v'dor chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim, that in every generation we are in fact obligated to see ourselves as if we came out of slavery from Egypt. And the lesson of that teaching in Pesach is don't be brutal. Don't be barbaric. Remember that you were once vulnerable and powerless, and make sure you go through the world and go through life accordingly. And it's this balance of us not having the luxury to let our guard down, and we can't be naive, but we also must not abuse our power. It's that lesson that I hope remains the North Star for our Zionism. Now, if the timing here between Purim and Pesach is fateful, let's add another letter Pei into that mix as we are about to read Parshat Pikudei. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, and our good friend Hannah here will go way deep and explain everything you need to know about the Parsha tomorrow morning. True? But I will just say that in this week's Parsha, we have one of the building blocks, I'll call it the foundations of our very civilization, in which every person of the community, well, let's say this, every male over the age of 20, okay, is commanded to be counted through the giving of 1/2 shekel. Now, I did the math, okay, and with inflation rates, I've realized that 1/2 shekel in today's world is exactly $5. That's right. Okay, you get the point. But the idea of being counted by giving 1/2 shekel, to stand up, to represent one's family, one's tribe, and one's people, is the exact same idea that the Zionist movement replicated, and the exact same thing that we're asking all of you to do and to take part in. You see, every 5 years we embark on this critical election for the World Zionist Congress. This was Theodor Herzl's institution that he started 128 years ago in the first World Zionist Congress, where he convened the Parliament of the Jewish people. Now, he hoped to achieve this statehood, to achieve a sovereign political entity in our ancestral homeland. And there are some who say 51 years later, he achieved that goal, and Zionism is now over. It's a thing of the past. It's just an existence and a fact. But I say, actually, no, because you see, these institutions are still in existence. And they provide us as diaspora Jews with a critical, I would say, the only democratic opportunity that we have to influence what happens in the state of Israel and, in fact, for the Jewish people. Now, don't be mistaken. This is not a vote in the Knesset. This will not dictate the IDF's policy, in Gaza or in Lebanon or anywhere else. And we, many of us who are not taxpayers or citizens of the state of Israel, nor do we serve in the army, nor do we vote in the elections, we have an opportunity, though, to influence the policy and the budgets of these institutions, the World Zionist Organization, the Jewish National Fund, and the Jewish Agency for Israel, that are not owned by the state of Israel. No, they are owned by the entire Jewish people. Now, we know that our beloved Reform movement in Israel, those 54 congregations, these 136 rabbis, we know that their lifeline comes from these institutions. In fact, 25% of their budget is provided because we, myself and my colleagues, have a seat around this capital Z Zionist table. We know that they're able to exist because of the critical funding that they receive from these institutions. Now, what's at stake? It's not just a few dollars or a few shekels here. We're talking about millions, dare I say, billions of dollars that make up the collective budgets of these organizations, and they are highly contested. I don't know if you're aware, but this past week, in fact, the Knesset passed its budget. The budget for the state of Israel, narrowly approaching the deadline of March 31st, in which the government would have to be dismantled if they didn't pass it. And at a time of war, and when 59 hostages are still languishing, there were parties of the ultra-Orthodox factions who said, no, now is the time to add more to our coffers, to fund our yeshivot and our institutions. And no, we are not going to serve in the army or participate in shouldering the burden of the state. And it is those same parties who put out in their materials, in their distribution lists, ahead of Pesach, that says, you know that phrase that we mentioned earlier that says, every year someone's going to rise up to destroy you? Well, that is the Reform movement. I'm not making this up. And they are telling us, oh, the Reform movement is an irrelevant movement here in North America. Look around you. I don't think so. And they're saying they are coming specifically to dismantle everything that has to do with the Torah values that we love and cherish. Well, we know that if we're not at the table, theirs is the vision that will be employed. And we know that our ultra-nationalist parties in the Knesset will use these institutions as a vehicle and as a tool to implement their agenda of the vision of the greater land of Israel, of annexation of Judea and Samaria or the West Bank. And it's our movement that says, no, those territories actually, well, their final status should be dependent on a negotiated diplomatic solution. It may not happen tomorrow, but we need to make sure that the Jewish philanthropic enterprise does not establish facts on the ground. And that's why we're asking you. That's why we're haranguing and cajoling and putting out stickers and flyers to make sure that all of you take a few minutes and simply fill out that form online, click Vote Reform, and make sure that we have strength, that we have power, and that we have influence. Now, the last time that I was in this room, I was here to say goodbye to my teacher, to our leader, to one of the leading thought leaders of modern Jewry, Rabbi Professor David Ellenson. You know, I was one of the last ordinees to be ordained by Rabbi Ellenson, and we would have many conversations about Israel, about Reform Judaism, about Zionism. And I wanted to share with you, in conclusion, one piece that he shared with me. He would say fondly that the Jewish people have returned to history with a degree of power unknown for the previous 2 millennia. He said that Reform Zionism needs to know and affirm the religious significance of this fact. The monism of universalism must be rejected. Our Zionism must be built upon the dialectical foundation of universalism and particularism and the interplay between them. He said both poles must be accorded religious legitimacy by our movement, for only then can a platform be constructed in which each can inform and at times provide a corrective for the other. In so doing, a new ground for our Reform Zionism will be established. David deeply believed in the Zionist enterprise. He deeply believed in this miracle that was the Jewish state. And in the last weeks and days of his life, he was also deeply fearful and deeply concerned. My hope is that we can take his legacy and the work of all of us and to make sure that we take action and that we do one simple thing, and that we vote together to say, Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'niske kulanu mehera le'oro, that there should be a new light upon Zion, and may we merit quickly and in our days. Shabbat Shalom.
A very powerful call to action. So we're going to take our half shekel at the end of the service. We will be projecting a QR code to make it extra easy for you to open up that tab on your phones after services in the lobby. And we'll have many savvy people in the community who can help you navigate voting if it's difficult at all. Thank you so much, Rabbi Weinberg, for the context, the call, the teaching, and for bringing Rabbi Ellenson's memory into our community. We miss him dearly, and we know you do too. We're going to invite you to help us to open the ark as we turn to Aleinu on page 282. Please rise as you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום
turn now and prepare to recite Mourner's Kaddish. We want to remind you or inform you that at the front of the room we have stones and slates so that as a ritual act of memorial you can hold a stone, imbue it with your memory, and affirm your presence here and your ongoing connection to those that you are remembering. We're going to begin with those recently departed, and we invite you to rise as you are able and to remain standing if you hear the name of a loved one. Those who died in the last 7 days, the period of Shiva, and the last 30 days, the period of Shloshim, include Rosenberg, Carrie Landau, Roger Granite, Uni Edelman, Rebecca Ann Cattell, Richard Botwinick, Jack Kind, Hannah Altman, and Rosemary Littman. Is anyone else in the period of Shiva or Shloshim? Is anyone in the period of Shana, the first year of mourning? the name. Thank you. And we continue with those whose yard sites we mark this Shabbat. Joanne Alter, Isadora Onratsky, Iris Baranoff, Zena Bassin, David Bassin, Barton Barrick, Al Berger, Martin B. Bernstein, David Blitzer, Murray Brager, Gus E. M. Broadwin, Rhonda Brown, Henry Burns, Helen Bertman, Susan Kaloff, Stephen Chan, Bernard Cohen, George L. Cohen, Herbert Cooper, Erica Cotter, Ted Cutler, Howard Melvin Dietz, Martin Dobbins, Doris Dobrin, Rebel H. Dunze, Isabella Edelman, Harold Edelson, Cheryl Epstein, Nathan Epstein, Molly Familiant, Martin Feist, Harold Fields, William Lee Fishman, Sema Franco, Bernard Franklin, Harry Fridson, Charles A. Freed, Irene Lesser Friedman, Daisy Furch, Murray Geller, Judith Goldberg, Sylvia Goodman, Louis Greenbaum, Dr. Harry Irwin Greif, Maurice Gutman, Hannah C. Halberg, Stephen Harkavy, Pearl Hauser, Oscar Hess, Selig Hochberg, Dr. Jacob Jack Jacoby, Lester Jarrett, Esther Marks Joel, Martha Kahn, May Kanarek, Arthur Kelman, Hilda Kirschner, Blanche Klein, Carla Jean Klein, Joy Levy Klein, Eugene Kolb, Jules Koskin, Albert Kuhn, Jacob Lazaire, Patricia Stone Lerner, Louis Lefkowitz, Jack Levin, Harley Lewis, Harold Lorber, Bertha Lowenberg, Emily Lustig, Ann Marbit, Robert Marks, Phyllis Messenger, Jacob Meth, Edward Miller, Arthur Miller, Sidney Miller, Shlomo Murad, Saul Nathan, Fred Nelson, Michael Nevins, Gerard Noble, Howard D. Pack, Erwin Perlman, Lillian Perlman, Yankel Pinkhasov, Arthur Plitt, Dr. Alvin L. Rittenberg, Benjamin Ritter, Sarah Ritter, Margaret Rosenberg, Morris Rosentover, Pauline B. Ross, Pauline Rothman, Carl Rothschild, Irving Sarnoff, Lillian Sarrow, Terry Saunders, Richard H. Schneider, Cora G. Schwartz, Tilly Siegel, Morris Shapiro, Ida Shapiro, Vanya Schneidman, Lois Sugar, Jack Siegel, Francesca Slovin, Marilyn Snyder, Henrietta Solomon, Helen Spiegel, Dr. Bernard Stark, Helen Steinman, Estelle G. Stern, Anna Stoles, Kalman Kenny Abraham Sull, Sieg Teinberg Jr., Candace von Stryker, Joseph Isaac Walk, Dr. Benjamin Warner, Morton Wasser, Tamar Weaver, Becky Weil, Louis Weinberg, Joan Weissman, Julius Weissman, Rosetta Werlin, Dr. Aaron Wise, Max Zuckerman. Are there additional loved ones you're remembering this evening or any names I mispronounced? We invite the community to please rise as you are able in sympathy and in fellowship for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata ta'amiran v'alma v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen
Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Please be seated. Just a few announcements as we turn toward the conclusion of our service. An event I'm very excited to invite you to. This is Monday, April 7th at 7 p.m. We have an incredible new author, Zakir Tamiz, who is just about to publish a really incredible biography of Charles Sumner, a formidable abolitionist from the 19th century who played a huge role in the beginning of the civil rights movement in this country and during the Civil War, and was an advisor to Abraham Lincoln and a senator from Massachusetts. This incredible biography is going to be published in June, and Mr. Tamiz is going to be kind of starting to practice in his public speaking tour, and he and I did the same fellowship together, so he and I are going to be in conversation about his book, his biography, so I hope you'll join us on Monday, April 7th. He has a fascinating story, and the book is incredible, and I think it's cool I got to read a book before it was published. The second thing, of course, because we are between the pays, as Rabbi Weinberg reminded us, Seder is coming up. We have our incredible Connected at the Table, CRS's first night online Seder, Saturday, April 12th at 6 p.m. with our senior clergy. Wherever you are in the world, you can come because it's on Zoom. So please join us and encourage others to do so. And then, of course, immediately following services, vote, tell friends to vote, bring stickers with you, make your voice heard, have that half shekel help contribute to making sure that Reform Judaism, pluralism, democracy, and all of the values that our Zionism constitute can be effectuated for another 5 years in the state of Israel. We are going to invite Hannah and her family up to the bima as we prepare to recite Kiddush for Shabbat. Rabbi Weinberg, please join us in the center. We're going to invite the community to please rise as you are able. Page 5. Oh, please, the whole family. Yes, join us.
Maybe two hands.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah lemikraye kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Eze hala yafa.
Beautiful challah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
And we conclude with Adon Olam, page 321.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yesh
Atah b'chetzoko azay melech shelo nikra melech shelo nikra v'yacharei hiklotago
Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu haya Ve'hu over Ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara Ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara Ve'hu echad ve'yein sheni Leham shilo lehachmira Be'lirei vote and Shabbat Shalom.
Yes, please vote.
Shabbat shalom. You did it. Good job.
Check out.
Oh, no.
There's a line where it's like, if I leave now, I might as well just stay at this point.
You know, proper money only gets you a certain level of commitment.